Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The show is about to begin.
This is the Hey Ed YouTube channel, and I am your host, moderator, and all-around nice guy, Edward Anderson. Okay, so today I have a unique presentation for you. It's going to be very unusual, kind of a left turn from my usual videos, but I think you're going to find it fascinating. Today we're going to be talking about two apparently disparate subjects, but we're also going to show you how they do tie together. And the guest I have today is a sleep guru. She calls herself a sleep expert. And I wanted to have her. I sat in on one of her discussions a few weeks ago, and I thought, I've got to have you on the channel because it was a fascinating discussion on the topic of sleep. And then she tied it together to the world of crypto. So I'd like to introduce everyone to my special guest, Alison Anandi, live from Italy. Hi, Alison.
Thank you so much for having me. It's fascinating. I think it's hilarious, this connecting the two, but it really works.
Yeah. Alison and actually know each other. Now, Alison is living in Italy, but she's actually a Brit. You know, Alison and I met each other through a program that we are in together. It's been an amazing program and has done wonders for us and people on our team. And that's one of the benefits of that program is that I've met people from all over the world. And I've met some fascinating people, and one of them is Alison. And so we've gotten to know each other through that opportunity. And we're not going to be talking about that particular opportunity in this video. But if you're curious and you wanted to check into it, you can always contact either Alison or me to ask, what the hell we're talking about. But today we're going to be talking about sleep and how it relates to the crypto space. So, Alison, I guess what I'm going to do is, first of all, thank you very much for doing this. It's very, very generous of you, especially this time of night. But I'm going to throw it to you because people would much rather listen to you talk than me. So I'll throw it. So, ladies and gentlemen, Alison Anandi.
Oh, thank you so much, Ed. Well, yeah, it does seem a very weird thing for the sleep guru to be talking about crypto. And when I first thought about the idea, I thought, I wonder if that will work. But actually, you'll see how it is actually connected. My work, basically, just a quick introduction about how I ended up doing what I'm doing, is that I myself had a terrible issue with chronic insomnia. And it went on it started when I was about 27, and it went on for years and years and years. And it made me so miserable, and it made me very ill. And it took me years and years to find a solution for it. I've always been in the field of health and well-being. And, I was determined to find a solution without the use of medication, because I knew that once I got on medication, then it was probably going to be all downhill from there, and I'd never, ever be able to get off. I was determined to find my own solution. So I've created a program, a process that I take people through, and one that I took myself through trial and error, actually. And then eventually, for 10 years of research, I eventually came up with my process, because I don't want people to go through what I went through, having years of insomnia, feeling ill. I had terrible acne rosacea and ulcers in my mouth and gut issues. And it really is horrible. So if anyone out there doesn't sleep very well, I get it. So please reach out to me and I will try and help you. Sleep easy with crypto. Well, what are we going to cover in this session? So we are going to cover what good sleep will do for you and why you need it. You might think you know that, but hopefully I'll be able to add something else to what you already know. Then we will talk a little bit about how crypto can help you sleep better. You're probably thinking, what? Yes, just bear with me, stay with me on this. And also a little bit about the crypto cartel that both Ed and I are in, and how that could also help relieve your sleep issues. Without further ado, let's move on. So finances. My question to you is, are your finances keeping you awake at night? Do you have financial worry? I certainly did. That was one of the things in my 20s. I was starting a business, and, I had a couple of near bankruptcy things over 20 years. And there's nothing worse than financial worry and worrying about the future. And also there's a whole thing that many of us do, this whole thing about exchanging time for money. And actually, it's never going to be enough, because you only have a finite number of hours in a day. So if you're exchanging time for money, that's where it ends, which is where crypto comes in, because that's not what you're doing. You have a much bigger opportunity, even, doing it on the side, even if you have your day job and you have this on the side. So it's been a real revelation for me, having another way of actually having income, so I don't have to worry so much about the future and about, marketing and all that. So let's have a look at sleep first and why we need that. One of the things we need sleep for, if you are going to get into the crypto space, I can tell you that you need to sleep well, because learning is very difficult when you're sleep deprived. You're foggy headed. And actually, if you look at the research, you Google research and learning, you'll see that actually it's not easy to learn when you are sleep deprived. The brain just can't actually hold the information in. I often liken it to a bin by the side of your desk, right? So imagine you've got a bin by the side of your desk, and during the day, you're filling it up. You're filling it up with information, things that you've taken in during the day, things that you've seen, things that you've heard, conversations that you've had, something that you've learned. So you're filling up the bin. And then the angels come at night and they empty the bin, so that in the morning you have a fresh mind. So everything that was in the bin has now been filed, been put into the various areas that it needs to be put into. So now you're available, the brain's available to take in more information. It's all out there, just research it. But you really do need to have good sleep in order to take information in. So you need your headspace to learn about crypto. That's one thing I can definitely tell you. Now, sleep is the single most important thing, or the single most effectively important thing that you can do for your well-being every single day. There isn't one single organ in your body that does not benefit from a great night's sleep. If you don't sleep very well, you basically feel like crap, you look like crap, and you basically perform like crap, because there's just nothing like it. I remember when I was sleep deprived, it was written all over my face, and with acne rosacea and just black rings under my eyes. You can't really hide it as a woman. However much makeup you put on, you really can't hide it. I think women that are very, very tired, however much makeup you put on it, it's still oozing out of you. Therefore, sleep, actually, I say sleep is the best beauty cream that you can possibly find. Benefits of a great night's sleep. As I was mentioning about looking great, there's been research. Estee Lauder has done research on sleep deprivation and aging skin. And when you don't sleep very well for a long period of time, the skin ages, and you're going to look a lot older than you are. There's also another research project by a company called Benson's Beds, and they use Jodie Kidd. If you know who Jodie Kidd is, a beautiful supermodel. And they sleep deprived her. I think they took her down from 8 hours to 5 hours, something like that. They put her face under one of those analyzer things where it shows the dark bits and the aging spots under the skin that you can't visibly see with the naked eye. And they did her before and after. And even after a week of just 3 hours less sleep, her skin was visibly looking older, less oxygen, more black spots, slightly darker rings under the eyes. Therefore, as I say, when you sleep well, you do look so much better. And of course, you're going to feel more vital, more healthy, creativity levels are higher. you're not going to feel motivated to do an awful lot or be very creative when you're waking up in the morning feeling absolutely terrible. You know, I remember when I was sleep deprived, I used to drag myself through the day feeling absolutely terrible. And I remember having to go out, because I used to teach a lot in those days. And I used to drive to the venue. Sometimes it would be like a 4-hour drive. And I would get there feeling absolutely terrible. And having to perform and teach, it was just so difficult. So it's, you know, your creativity levels are not going to be high, your productivity levels aren't going to be high. And as I say about the learning, it's very difficult to actually put information in and retain it. I do quite a lot of presentations for corporate because they are realizing that their staff, their health and well-being of their staff is so important. And sleep is such a big subject right now. I'm getting seeked out by corporates to talk to their staff about sleep, because obviously if they're coming to work sleep deprived, they are just not going to get the best out of them. Their productivity levels are going to be really, really low. Therefore, they are really actually looking more and more at well-being. So, how many hours of sleep do you need? This is really interesting because some people say to me, I'm good on 5. And I go, well, okay, you say you're good on 5, but I'd like to know how you would be on 6.5 hours. Because what often happens is that you get used to not feeling that great. You get used to that being slightly foggy headed, and to you that just becomes normal. So most people absolutely need about 7 to 8 hours, unless you're one of the superhuman groups with superhuman genes that can last on 4 hours. There's only about 3% of the population in the world that can actually survive on 4 to 5 hours of sleep, because the body and the brain have work to do when you're sleeping. Your body and the brain has to cleanse the body, cleanse the brain. The brain has a whole load of metabolic maintenance to do during the night that it can't possibly do during the day. When you're thinking and trying to work things out, do all the things that you need to do during the day, your brain can't do the cleansing and the clearing that it needs to do. Quite a recent discovery is something called brain lymphatics. Probably most people have heard of the lymphatic system, which is your physical cleansing. It goes around the body and it collects all the waste and then it gets rid of it. The brain has a similar system. It's like they come in, there's like the cleaners come in with the brooms, they scrub it clean, then they rinse it out so that you're feeling available, the brain's available for the following day. And it hasn't got enough time to do that in most people's brains in 4 hours. That's why most people will feel terrible if they've only had 4 hours sleep. It's very, very rare that you'll find someone who really does actually survive on 4. And if they're just pushing through on 4 to 5, then that is not good for anything, health and well-being, brain health, Alzheimer's, those sorts of things. Therefore, everyone needs about 7 to 8 hours sleep. Some people say, great, I go to bed at 11 and I get up at 7. That doesn't mean you're getting 8 hours sleep. There's 8 hours, you're giving yourself 8 hours of sleep opportunity, which means that you are going to bed, but you've only got 8 hours. So by the time you've cleaned your teeth and got changed and all that, you're cutting down the time. But I'm talking about hours of sleep. You need to get 7 to 8 hours of sleep, not going upstairs and then you've got an 8-hour window till you get up in the morning. It's very important to make sure you've got enough of a sleep opportunity window to get 7 to 8 hours sleep. So that's very, very important. The other thing is that often people say to me, well, I feel so groggy in the morning and I have to rely on the snooze button. It's because they're not in any decent routine and they wake up in the morning, click the snooze button, and they're going back into like another sleep cycle because their body doesn't know whether it's supposed to be waking up or what it's supposed to be doing. Rhythm is absolutely key, which you will see as we move on. But you certainly do need to have yourself in a good rhythm so the brain and the body knows exactly what it's doing and at what time. A lot of people go, well, what does good sleep actually mean? Well, good sleep actually means that you need to have enough of each of the sleep cycles, because during the night you're going through different cycles. It's a very big subject, so I'll just give a quick overview. You have deep sleep, light sleep, and REM sleep. And you need about 12% of the whole sleep time deep sleep. And deep sleep is when you're physically rejuvenating, physically repairing. And the REM sleep, you need about 20 to 22%. And the REM sleep is very much connected to the brain and clearing and all that and sorting out memory. And then you've got light sleep, which is just as fundamental to everything. And what I usually recommend with my clients is actually for them to get some type of sleep tracker. Because when you have a sleep tracker, you can, or even though they're not 100% accurate, I use an Oura ring. There are other things that you can use, but I find an Oura ring quite good. But when you start tracking your sleep, your cycles, your heart rate variability, your resting heart rate, things like that, you can start actually seeing what's working and what's not. When I'm actually asking people to change certain things that they're doing, change their rhythms or change what they're eating or when they're eating or whatever they're doing, it's good to actually know what's working and what's not. So if you really are serious about your health and well-being, sleep has to be a priority, and understanding what quality sleep is, understanding if you're getting enough quality sleep, and understanding what affects your sleep. For example, if you have alcohol in the evening, I'm not saying you can't have alcohol in the evening, but some people process it better than others. But it often means that your heart rate is raised. Now, if your resting heart rate doesn't go down enough, it's difficult for you to go down into a deep sleep. So your body's trying to tell your body, or your hormones are trying to tell your body to lower the heart rate. But because you've had alcohol, your body's trying to lower the heart rate and the alcohol's pushed it up. Therefore, understanding that, okay, if I have a glass of wine earlier in the evening, a glass, let's say at 7 p.m., that doesn't seem to affect me so much. But if I'm still having a glass of wine at 9 p.m. and I'm going to bed at 11 p.m., you can see what effect it's having on your sleep cycles. And that goes for other things, also things like watching a movie. You'd be surprised at how that can affect the time it takes for you to get to sleep, your REM sleep, all the things. So it's very, very useful to start tracking, excuse me, what affects your sleep and how, and then obviously adjust your lifestyle and the things you're doing. And you'll soon find that you will start sleeping better because you'll understand what you personally need. The way that I work is that everyone has a constitutional type. It's based on the ancient and hugely undervalued ancient wisdom of Ayurveda. Some people might know what that means, but basically it's the Indian system of medicine that was shut down by the British Raj when they were in India, which is very embarrassing for me being British, but they shut down all the Ayurvedic hospitals and burnt stuff. And anyway, won't go into that, but it lost a bit of ground because of that, but it's very, very commonsensical. And they'll tell you that everyone is different, and everyone's sleep issue is probably down to something a little bit different. And I work by finding out what the imbalances are, and having a sleep tracker is really useful because then you can see what we need to do and what we are doing and if it's working. Sleep cycles are just fundamental to understand that you're getting enough and how to actually get more of those cycles that you're not getting enough of. So for example, REM sleep, again, I'm using alcohol as an example, but I could use sleeping medication as well as an example. You can track if you've been on sleep medication and you're trying to reduce sleep medication, you can see on your sleep tracker that your REM sleep will be disturbed because of the medication. But as you start coming off it, you'll start to see that your cycles are improving, the quality of your sleep is actually improving. So understanding what affects your sleep and how is very important. So the signs of sleep deprivation, I mentioned the snooze button, because often when you're not in a good rhythm, so if people are going to bed sometimes at, I don't know, let's say 10 p.m. and then the next night they're going to bed at 12:30 at night because they're watching a movie, and the next night they've gone out, so it's 1 o'clock, then the next night it's 10, and therefore they're going to bed at all sorts of different times of day. Now, in your body, in your whole system, and every single cell of your body has a circadian clock, a circadian rhythm, and it likes to do certain things at certain times. It's producing hormones at certain times. Certain organs are more active than others at certain times of day. Therefore, in that arc of 24 hours, it has certain things that it does over that 24 hours. Now, if you're running uphill against nature and doing different things, eating at different times of day, eating late in the evening, going to bed at all these different times, getting up at all these different times, it basically means your body's permanently jet lagged. That means that your body's working really hard, and actually it's very stressful for your system to try to keep pulling you back into a rhythm. It wants to get back into a rhythm, but you're actually pushing it out the whole time. Over time, that will cause disease. It will cause sleep issues, it can cause digestive issues, it can create stress levels, all sorts of things. So it's very, very important to have a good rhythm. Doesn't mean you have to have a boring life, but having a good rhythm. And I work always on the 80-20% rule. 80% of the time, I look to do the right things at the right time. And then 20% of the time, life happens, right? So you might be out for dinner, or you might be doing an interview on your computer a bit later than you would normally be doing. Things do happen, but if you work on 80% of the time, really getting into a good rhythm, it will be really, really good for your health and well-being, and in particular your sleep. If you're feeling drowsy during the day, if you feel like you've got to have a nap to get you through the day, and you're finding that you're moody and irritable, like I was when I was hugely sleep deprived, I was just moody the whole time, irritable. So I'm sorry for all those people that were around me at that time, but it does make you feel miserable. And so it's good to really check in with yourself to go, am I moody most of the time? Am I getting enough sleep? So yes, it's important. It's so, so important. Obviously, there's things like reduced immunity. Problems become, mountains become, molehills become mountains. I think that's the expression, is it? Obviously, we've talked about poor concentration and things like that. The other thing that's quite interesting is people often gain weight when they're sleep deprived, because there's a couple of hormones involved in that. There's leptin and ghrelin. Ghrelin is the hormone that tells you to go and eat. If you're actually finding yourself reaching for pizza and cake and chips, then, because obviously when you're very tired, you do tend to crave carbohydrates, and you might find yourself craving for those things, the chocolates and the cakes and all those sorts of things. But when you're balanced and you're not overtired, then the leptin will go, you've had enough, you don't need to eat anymore. But the ghrelin will often get you craving the carbohydrates and the sugar. Therefore, you might find, I had a client once, and she was midnight snacking. She was having like peanut butter sandwiches in the middle of the night. Because she was so exhausted. The body was just trying to get a quick fix. Therefore, that's something to watch out for when you're feeling really, really tired, is always having some healthier things to go to rather than the cakes and the high sugar chocolates and the pizza. So something to look out for. One of the things I hear, Warren Zevon said it. He said, "I'll sleep when I'm dead." That is very, very, very unfortunate, because actually when you're sleep deprived, every single organ of your body is under stress. They've done research on this on rats, which is also very unfortunate, but they did. And they found that when they sleep deprived the rats between day 11 and 32, they were either dead or they need to be destroyed. And it's actually a very serious thing. And I think we underestimate the value of sleep. There was also a man in, I think it was Chicago. He actually died of something called fatal insomnia. He was basically awake for 6 months before he died, literally being awake for 6 months, and every single organ of his body failed. I can't really stress it enough. And I think people think more about health foods, they think about going to the gym. We've got so much available to us, but actually we're not really making sleep a priority. And I think it's fundamental to make sleep a priority just as much as your health food. You have cupboards, probably a lot of people have got cupboards full of vitamins, vitamin C and all those immune boosting things that people are focusing a bit more on now in the current climate that we're living in. But what about sleep? Because sleep, it has a huge immune system boosting ability. Therefore, getting enough sleep as well as obviously eating the right foods. I always say that obviously you need to be breathing. Otherwise, if you're not breathing, you'll be dead, and you need to be drinking water. Then comes sleep. So breath, water, sleep, and then food in that order. I think it's very important to have sleep as a priority, just as important as good quality food. There's actually about 10 million sleep prescriptions that are given out every single year in the UK, and I'm sure it's much, much more in the US. Well, of course, it's much more in the USA. But my question is, why is that? Why are we still ill when we have so much available? Health clubs, gyms, therapists, health magazines. There's just an abundance of stuff available. But why is it that we're still reaching for the sleeping pills? And I say it's because we're just pushing ourselves and running uphill against nature. As I was saying earlier, your body's trying to stay in a rhythm because that's how it stays healthy, allowing the body to do its work. It's not that you can be digesting heavy meals for 24 hours. The body's not made for that. The body is made really to have a strong digestive fire. As the sun is hot when it's over your head, then the digestive system is at its highest. It's not at its highest at 9 p.m. at night. Therefore, if people are insisting on having a late meal at 9 p.m., a heavy meal, with carbohydrate, with proteins and meat and things like that, not saying that you can't have meat, but heavy food that actually is quite heavy duty for the body to digest. Your melatonin is telling your body to calm down. The digestive fire needs to calm down. The heart rate needs to calm down. Everything needs to slow down. So if you're eating a heavy meal in the evening that's quite late, it's making your digestive fire up again. Your body temperature is up again. When your body's gone, hang on a minute, I'm just trying to quieten down because I think the sun's gone down, so we're going to need to sleep soon. But you've pushed it completely out of sync. That's just one example, which I've mentioned before. But I think that really we're just pushing the limits out. We're pushing ourselves to unnatural schedules. There's a book called It's Not You, It's Your Schedule, or something like that. Change Your Life, Change Your Schedule. I think that's what the book, written by a lovely Indian doctor called Dr. Suhas. And it's a beautiful book. And he talks about exactly that, exactly about rhythms and rituals that would be natural for the body, and all the things that we do are unnatural, just actually in the artificial light, exposed to artificial light late in the evening, looking at blue screens, all those sorts of things are what I would class as running uphill against nature. And I think that's why, apart from that, also the stress that we're under these days. We're under a lot of stress for survival, financial stress, work stress. We're so busy, we're multitasking the whole time. We have so much going on the whole time. Remember the days when the mobile phones, used to carry them around in a case. Some people might not remember those. Probably you and I do, carrying it around in the case. But when there wasn't any email those days, when you send an email and someone hasn't responded within 15 minutes, you're already offended, right? Or if you've sent a text message and they're like, well, hang on a minute, they haven't responded, we're already offended. What happened to the days when we used to write a letter, send it in the post, and we used to wait for a response? We used to put it through the thing and wait for a response. Or we used to go on holiday and we go, see you in 2 weeks. And then you wouldn't be able to be in touch with anyone unless you went to a phone box and bought the things to go into the phone box. It's just completely mad these days. It's not really a surprise that people, 10 million sleep prescriptions a year are going out in the UK. The Centres for Disease Control has declared that anxiety and depression are the #1 disability. Again, why is that? World Health Organization has declared sleep deprivation is at an epidemic level. Why is that? We just need to really, really take a look at these things. That's a lot about sleep, and there's so much to talk to about sleep. I'm just going to do a few tips, 3 of my big tips, and then we will talk a little bit about crypto, add that into the mix. 3 top tips. So one of the things, #1 would be rhythm is king. I've talked quite a bit about rhythm, about not going against nature, trying to be in rhythm with obviously when the sun goes down. It's not that everyone can go to bed when the sun goes down, but going to bed and getting up at the same time every day, exercising at the same time every day. Your body likes to do its aerobic exercise in the morning. It doesn't really want to be. It's not adapted to be doing heavy aerobic exercise in the evening. So if you're doing very heavy gym work in the evening, that's running uphill against nature. Probably not what some people want to hear, but actually if you look at the research about sports people's training and about when you're strongest and when you have the most stamina, it's in the morning, not in the evening, as an example. But having a rhythm is absolutely key. Getting up at the same time, eating at the same time, trying to have your main calorie intake at lunchtime if you can, those sorts of things, but getting into a rhythm. Even shift workers can get into a rhythm, although it's much more difficult. But being aware that rhythm is one of the most important things is a good thing to have as something to look at if you're having a sleep issue. Eat light, eat right, eat early. As I was saying before, having very light meal in the evening is important, and certainly not too late. So it's not affecting the body temperature too much, and you're not trying to digest food when your body is trying to do all the other maintenance jobs that it needs to do, not putting the body under extra strain. And then the evening wind down, turning off the gadgets, making sure you're not staring at a computer at 11 o'clock. Don't go to bed with your computer or your iPad. Turn it off. People say, well, what about those thingy glasses? You can get these glasses, these light, the blue light blockers, aren't they? They're called blue light blockers. But your brain is still being stimulated. And I don't think that's a great hack at all. I think it's just, going over the problem, when actually the problem is that your brain doesn't want to be stimulated at 11 o'clock at night. It needs to be quietening down and calming down. So turning the lights down a bit, having lower light. If you're reading, it will be better than watching a movie. But you have to find your own rhythm, bearing in mind that you need a wind down before you go to bed. So you can't just turn the movie off and then go straight to bed. There needs to be space and a wind down time. So the 3 tips will be getting into a rhythm, eating light, eating right, eating early, and having a wind down in the evening. There would be 3 big tips that I could give you. So let's go on to crypto and how it could potentially transform your life, basically, and allow you to sleep easier. Because actually, when you haven't got so much financial stress, you will definitely sleep easier for sure. Why blockchain? Well, blockchain is a massive revolution, and it also brings massive opportunities. There's nothing there's been nothing like it in human history that has had a high adoption like blockchain and crypto. If you'd asked me a year ago that I'd be getting into crypto, I would not have even really known what it was. wouldn't even know what it was. But now I'm learning. It's just been fascinating at how fast this thing has taken off. And basically, we can either jump on the train, because the train is going to be leaving with or without you. And believe you me, winter is coming and we have got no idea what's coming. And I think we just need to prepare for it. We need to be like squirrels, preparing for the winter. And if you're not going to get on the train, it's going to leave without you. We have a choice, right? So we can either rely on the banks, we can rely on what the banks are going to give us and the interest that the banks are going to give us and all the good deals that the banks are going to give us not. Or we can be controlled by the banks, which, is not another great option. We can choose something else. And that's what I've chosen. And that's what Ed has chosen. And that's what many of us in the crypto cartel, in this crypto space, this community that we have, we've all chosen a different path. We've chosen freedom from the manipulation of the government manipulating us, freedom from the banks freezing our accounts. They'll freeze your accounts. There was a whole thing that a friend of mine, her family are profoundly deaf, and that she was trying to send one of the ladies, really wonderful lady, profoundly deaf but very intelligent, trying to send money to her crypto exchange. And they made her come in and they grilled her. They treated her like a stupid woman, someone stupid who was not intelligent because she was deaf. And they really, really did grill her and made her feel very, very uncomfortable. But little did they know, she was an intelligent woman. Anyway, consequently, she's changed banks and everything. But what right do they have to do that? The banks will freeze your account if you're sending it to the wrong place. And I think that is so terrible, and it's just gonna get worse. Now, I would choose freedom from the big brother snooping around my data as well. The authorities telling us what we've got to do. So I think this is a great option to have more choice and have more freedom. We are part of the Cartel, which is a place where there's masses of free content. There's a great community there. So we're all there on the same path, we're the same kind of warriors. We want to create a better life for ourselves. We want to create financial freedom. We've got a really, really great community. And what's amazing there's a fantastic academy that's been set up. And it's designed from dummy level up. So people like me, when I first got on board, was complete and utter dummy. You can come in on the Cartel, there's lots of free stuff, you can have a look, and there's loads of videos about all sorts of things. You can really, really gen up and make your own decisions about what's happening in the financial world and how the banks really do run things. And it's just been a fascinating journey for me. There's also things like mindset training by the lovely Rob Bruce, who is an amazing person, and he's the founder of the Cartel, and he has done a load of mindset training in there as well. And I think that if we just get ourselves into a good mindset, we surround ourselves with the right people, and we get enough sleep, then we're going to be on the right road. And I think that, so please do come over to the Cartel and join us. Ed will put a link below the video, the thing here, for you to click on, and you can just join up and join us over there. There's also an incredible podcast. Ed has been a featured person on the Crypto Cartel podcast. It's a really, really good podcast you guys have done, and I've really, really enjoyed listening to them. All sorts of great stuff to learn about crypto. It's a really great place to start, just plugging into the Crypto Cartel podcast, and obviously Ed's podcast as well. You can learn about all sorts of things, especially understanding. And I think understanding why winter is coming. People don't often understand that. People actually don't understand it until they start looking and digging. And in these podcasts, in Ed's podcasts, and the Crypto Cartel podcast, you'll start understanding a bit more. And maybe you will start really getting, actually, I don't like what's happening, and start getting more curious about crypto and blockchain. And yeah, there's a whole lot more in there. So, if you're not into crypto yet, please reach out to us. You can reach out to Ed or myself or in the Crypto Cartel. Just reach out and we can have a chat about how we got into it and what we're doing. And we're really happy to share. Ed will share the links for the cartel and my website if you want to reach out to me and talk to me about any sleep issues that you may have. So I'm happy to do that. So Ed, have you got any questions for me?
Oh man, what an excellent presentation, Alison. That was wonderful. Yeah, I do have some questions. First of all, and thank you for mentioning the podcast that Rob and I do. Starting early next year, early in January, we will probably start posting our podcast on Spotify and Apple. But in the meantime, we are posting them on our YouTube channel. So if you're watching this video, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, the Hey Ed YouTube channel, go ahead and you can watch the podcast. The podcasts tend to be they're about an hour long, but they're meaty presentations. We talk about very important topics related to the crypto space and what you should be doing. If you want to contact Alison regarding sleep issues, or regarding crypto or crypto cartel, or about specifically that one opportunity that we are both involved in that we don't discuss on YouTube, but we can talk to you individually if you want. So her contact information is below, mine is below. But yes, I do have some questions for you, Alison.
Good, go for it.
First of all, are naps useful? Because there are many times during the day when I'm dragging and I feel like I need it. Are naps useful or what?
Yes, they can be really, really useful. The thing to remember about naps is what time of day you have the nap. Because if you have the nap as the siesta thing, like the Mediterranean people do, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock or something for a 45-minute or an hour or something, that's actually fine. And there's lots of research to say that that's actually quite a healthy lifestyle. But if you have a nap at 7 p.m. or 6:30 p.m., you might find that will interfere with your sleep, the quality of your sleep, because you have a hormone called adenosine, which builds up during the day, during the waking hours, and it's the sleep pressure. When you get to the evening and you start feeling really tired and you think, oh my God, I just need to just go to sleep. I can sleep standing up. That's sleep pressure. That's not melatonin, that's sleep pressure. It's adenosine that's built up. And what happens is when you go to sleep, your body metabolizes that. In the morning, it's metabolized, but you start building it up again during the waking hours. Now, if you are so exhausted and you have a sleep for an hour or so, about 7 p.m., you may well be using up some of that sleep pressure and find it difficult to go to sleep in the evening. Yes, naps can be useful, very helpful, especially if you are sleep deprived. It's quite good to have a nap in the afternoon, or do a practice called Yoga Nidra, which is a wonderful relaxation practice. Not quite sleep, but it's a really deep mental and physical relaxation practice that you can do in the afternoon. So yes, useful, but not too late in the afternoon.
I also wanted to ask you, what if somebody, you talked earlier, you gave an example of that young woman who with youthful skin, and they made her sleep deprived for a while, and they saw the damage it done to her physical features. If they let her go back to her usual schedule, does her skin come back to normal?
Well, of course, a woman of late 20s who's sleep deprived for a short period of time, yes, of course, she's going to recover, because don't forget, your cells are constantly recovering the whole time. But I'm talking about years of sleep deprivation. If you have years of sleep deprivation and the skin elasticity starts to get affected, then it might be the case of a facelift. But no, yeah,
so
it does affect the way that you look for sure.
okay. So is there a point of no return in terms of, damage done to your organs and stuff, where it doesn't matter how much more you sleep, or can you always like recover some of your health if you finally do?
I think the thing is with health and well-being, there's always an opportunity. There's always an opportunity to get well again. We're aging the whole time. Therefore, because you've been going through something for 5 years, you're going to be older in 5 years' time anyway. But there's always an opportunity for healing. There's always an opportunity to improve your well-being. And your cells are constantly renewing all the time. And there's lots of research about mindset as well as just good food and good sleep, because your mind overrides everything. And I think we underestimate the power of the mind for well-being. You can think yourself ill, or you can think yourself well on many levels.
Okay. Well, what would you say to those people who feel like they need a shot of whiskey or something before they go to bed in order to fall asleep?
Okay, so alcohol is a bit like an anesthetic. It might actually knock you out, but it will affect the quality of your sleep. So your REM sleep will be deeply affected, and you'll wake up feeling groggy in the morning. And I think there's other things that you could use rather than a shot of whiskey. If you need a shot of whiskey to knock you out, then you have got an issue, and that would need to be addressed. And there's other things you can do, like a decent evening wind down. If you're someone who's on the computer doing very busy things until 11, and you think, I'll have a shot of whiskey and it will just calm me down and send me to sleep, that's what I would call deeply running uphill against nature. And I think that you really need to reconsider that. Forget the whiskey, turn the things off earlier and have a wind down. That will be just as good as a shot of whiskey.
I've got a son who works at Walmart, and he works the late shift, right? So he doesn't get home until about midnight. And then what he does, he stays up until about 4 a.m. He goes on his computer and he has the TV going. So, so he just sees it as, well, that just happens to be my day. My day is, so I'm having my dinner at 3 a.m. So it's my dinner, where the other people would have their dinner at 5 p.m. So now he's a young guy, or youngish, right? So he, about 30 years old. So he can probably get away with things where people our age can't. But is that acceptable? Is it acceptable for people to have a different, for the people who do work the evening shifts out there? Is that okay, or should they start looking to get into
it's very hard on the body and the brain. One thing, if he's doing the late shift, be better off having an early, like a lunch before he went, and then when he gets home at midnight, instead of actually start getting busy and turning everything on, computer and everything, he'd be better off just sleeping in a bit. So if he's getting home at midnight, he could get up at 8. He could get up at 8:30 in the morning. You get those sleep out curtains things to make it black, so the light doesn't wake him up in the morning. And he could actually have his own rhythm, going to bed. Let's say he went to bed at 1, but he had blackout curtains. His body would be working with the light. Therefore, it's a bit like changing a time zone. He's just working on a slightly different time zone than where he actually lives. Therefore, his body will get into a rhythm. So if he went to bed at 1 a.m., and put the blackout things on his window, he could still get up at a reasonable time. And because does he work 5 days a week, or does he work? Yeah. So he could just, then at the weekends he can do bits and bobs. But health and well-being is a priority. And he definitely shouldn't be on his computer till 4 a.m. and having dinner at 3 a.m. in the morning. Your body's just not happy doing that. And it's quite a strain on the body. He's young. When you're young, you can get away with a lot more. But over time, for long periods of time, it's not that healthy.
Okay.
Get him to speak to me, Ed. I'll talk to him.
Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make him watch this video. I'm going to send it to. I mean, he never watches my videos unless I specifically tell him watch this video. So I'll send him a link. Tell him,
and then get him to reach out to me. I'll talk to him.
Yes, I might. Everyone out there. Look. Hopefully, there are a lot of people out there throughout the world who are watching this video, and hopefully, this information will benefit them too.
Yeah.
I'm sure my son isn't the only one working the evening shift. So other people can benefit from that. Yes, and I think everyone out there, if you have sleep issues, get a hold of Alison, and and she'll straighten you out. And I'll have all the link information below. And about cryptos. So when did you get into cryptos?
Well, it was under a year ago, to be honest. It was under a year ago. Someone just approached me about something he was doing, and I thought that sounds absolutely incredible. And I just started looking at it and playing about with it and listening and learning, going to looking at a lot of things on YouTube, but then listening to Rob a lot, because he was really useful. His stuff was really useful to listen to. And it's just gone from there. I've just got more and more interested in it, because what it's done is it's just given me another income stream. It's just given me some freedom and some peace of mind. And it feels great. And I can also just give back more. When you're more abundant, when you create abundance, it's not just about creating abundance for yourself to have more things. It's creating abundance so that you can make a difference in the world. Because whilst it's very noble not to be focused on money on one level, but is it? Because actually, if you've got more abundance, then you are in a position to do more for the world. So I have a charity called Helping Hands for India, which sends kids to school in northern India. And I have another girl that I've been sponsoring for many years. Had I not been focused on a bit of abundance in my life, I would never have been able to help kids that I've helped over the years, my charity, Moina. I would never have been able to do that. And I think that it's good, it's intelligent to actually be focused on abundance, because it's really energy. It's a circulation of energy. And I think that we need, some of us, there are bigger things, lots of big things that I'd like to do in the world and help, but I can't do that unless I've actually got some cash, unless I've got some abundance.
My experience this year is, because I got into that program, the opportunity that you and I are both involved. I didn't get in until early April. But it's been an amazing journey, just what it's done. But as a really nice side benefit, just the people that I've met, the community out there. When you start meeting like-minded people and everyone's supportive and everyone's positive, and if you have a question or if you have a problem, you'll find people who will gladly chime in and help you out. And that's how I met you. If you're not happy with your life for whatever reason, with your situation, the only way you're going to change it is by doing something different, and reaching out to others who feel the same way. And I don't know, it's just when I get onto our WhatsApp group and we do those things, it's just a real, it's fun, and it puts a spring in your step, and it's just I don't know, it's a lot of fun, and there's a lot to be said for having fun in your life.
Oh my God, it really is. And as you say, the community is incredible. It's just given me a whole new lease of life, and meeting people all over the world. Rob's in Australia as well. We are just so international, and having people around the world that are just like you and are on the same path as you. It's just amazing. It's been fantastic, really wonderful.
Well, Alison, I can't thank you enough for staying up late to do this with me tonight. This has been a fascinating discussion, and thank you so much for agreeing to do this. Please give this video a like just for Alison. I should get some big bonus points for being able to get Alison, on the channel. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. So Edward Anderson, along with Alison Anandi, saying good night and see you later.
Thank you so much.